and decided that softball was my first love, so I was going to go in that direction. I was being recruited by some big schools up in the Northeast. I grew up in North Jersey, and it was in a car accident my senior year in high school. Ended up with some knee issues. Ended up not playing in college. And for me, though, I wouldn't trade that for anything, because I believe strongly that that made me who I am today. I think I live from a different perspective. I coach and teach from a different perspective. And that's lesson number one. Lesson number one is don't take anything for granted. Not to be doom and gloom, but you know what, ladies? You never know when your last day on the field is. So don't take it for granted, right? Why do you play this game? Why do you play? Because you love it. That's the only answer. Good. Good job. Yeah, because you love it, right? You play because you love it. So if you have that passion and you love the game, that's all that should matter. Okay, so love it every day. So I ended up going to the University of Delaware. Great school. I enjoyed it there. Got my degree in English with a concentration in journalism. How many of you love English? I know. I'm like, I got my degree in English. People are like, what? Why? Because I hate math. That's why. Okay. And I don't really do that today, obviously. This is what I do, so, to be honest. And I remember my parents were like, just figure it out. So when I graduated college, I became a bartender. Yeah! Mom and Dad were real proud. Look at that beautiful degree and $30,000 a year later, and you're bartending. That's cool. Okay, good. But really, though, they were very supportive, and they said, you know what? Be whatever you want to be. Just figure it out and find something. Here's your one rule. And I said, what's that? They said, find something you love to do. Okay. Because if you're passionate about it, you're going to do it really well. So I said, okay, you know what? That's fair. I can do that. So I decided that I was going to try the corporate world and sit behind a desk. Now, I'm not very corporate. So after 4 years of that, I left and I decided I need to get myself back to sports, because that's really what I loved. So I started running camps and clinics. I opened a huge training facility in Pennsylvania. We won awards. It was awesome. It was great. I ran that for 3 years. And then I decided, you all right?
What was the other two sports you liked?
Oh, good question. Okay, good. So I opened up this big training facility, and it was awesome. Loved it. It was great. In 2009, I was chosen as the Female Business Leader of the Year in my community. And that was all great. But here's the thing. I realized that I was missing something. And it wasn't just all about the physical training. And I really was starting to understand how much was up here. So I went back to school. I got my master's degree in sports psychology, and I decided that I was going to pursue that. I coached along the way as well. And when I walked away from coaching to do this full time, I realized what a passion I had for affecting other people's lives. Mom and Dad were right. Find what you love and follow that. So as I went through all of that, here's what I had found. I worked with pro athletes. I've worked with 7-year-olds. I've worked with everything in between, and I've worked with 65-year-old tennis players. I'm not kidding. And they were pretty legit. So here's what I found, though. From the pro to the 7-year-old to the 65-year-old to the Division I athlete, it's all the same stuff. That's crazy, right? So what the pro is dealing with is the same thing you're dealing with sitting in this chair right now today. Does that make you feel any better? It's all the same. It's all the same. So I'm going to lay out a couple things that hopefully, and I'm not going to take the scientific psychology approach, because quite frankly it is really boring. And that'll put all of us to sleep, including me. And I'm going to pair that word with the word courage. Character and courage. What does it mean to have good character? What does that mean?
It's like you're the same person even when nobody else is around you.
Love that. How many of you have heard the definition? Character is who you are and what you do when no one's watching, right? Okay, we've heard that. I'd like to add something to that. I'd like to say character is who you are and what you do when no one's watching and when everyone's watching. Because they can be different, can't they? And here's the thing. I was in this very room for the past 5 years, I think. 3 years ago, I heard the best definition I could have ever heard about the word character. And it came in that seat right there. You're in the magic seat. Front row, second seat. I was talking to the 7-year-olds. And I asked the question, what is character? And the little girl over here, she was so small, her feet couldn't even touch the ground. They were dangling. And she raised her hand really slowly, and I walked over and I said, okay, what is character? And her eyes got really big, and she put her hand back down, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make this little girl cry. I better have a plan B. But here with this sweet, soft little voice, she looked up at me and she said, when you see a piece of trash, you pick it up. And I said, yes, 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 that's character. Yes. I high-fived her. I said, that's the best definition I've ever heard. And to be honest, I've used that everywhere across the country for the past 3 years. That little girl is a star. She doesn't even know it. Why is that such a good definition? Because it's so simple. It's so simple, isn't it? It's about doing the right thing. It's about being the right person. You might be sitting here thinking, what does this have to do with softball? Oh, ladies, it has everything to do with softball. Because you know what? When that foundation is right, everything else that goes on top of it fits. Has everything to do with softball. It's about being the right person. And only you can answer this. Are you the one that's the first one on the field and the last one to leave? Are you the one that makes sure that everything's put away the way it should and take pride in your equipment? Are you the one that does the one extra sprint and the one extra push-up, even when coach isn't watching? Are you the one that says, Coach, give me one more. I just want to get this right. Give me one more chance. Is that you? Only you can answer that. At our Sinus College, I implemented something that I called Kaizen push-ups. Kaizen is an ancient Japanese philosophy that means consistent improvement. It's a nice way to live, right? You get a little bit better every day. So I decided that we were going to do these push-ups, and I said, okay, on February 1st, this was our first chance to meet. At the end of practice, ladies, you're going to circle up, and you're going to do one push-up. And I want you to count it out. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They usually did. And they were like, what? One push-up? Yeah, go ahead, ladies. 1. All right, ladies, have a good night. See you tomorrow. And they were like, all right, Coach, look how strong we are now. You know, making jokes about it. So they left. They come back the next day, and I said, all right, ladies. At the end of practice, we cleaned up, everything was over, we had a good practice. I said, all right, ladies, circle up, you're going to give me 2 push-ups. She lost her mind. 1, 2. All right, good job, ladies. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. So on day 3, at the end of practice, they circled up and they did. And then on day 4, they did 5. I told you I wasn't good at math. I'm just kidding. Yeah. You're supposed to laugh at my jokes. Come on. 4. Okay? And every single day, they added 1. And on May 7th, at the end of our conference tournament, which we lost in the last game, I was actually in the dugout getting my stuff to walk away, and I couldn't find them. Where'd they go? And here they are out in right field doing their push-ups on the last day of the conference tournament when we were already done. There was no reason. 5 of those girls were even graduating. It didn't matter, but you know what? It mattered to them. Because, see, it became a pride thing. It became, oh no, this is who we are, and this is what we do. And on that day, they did 67 push-ups. Now, I'm going to tell you what I told them when we first started. I said, all right, ladies, here's the deal. You're allowed to drop to your knees and finish that way. And if at any time even that gets too difficult, go ahead and drop out and cheer your teammates on. That was pretty fair, wasn't it? That was nice of me, I thought. Yeah. I gave them an out. They had an out. They could drop out at any time they wanted to. Well, here's the truth. Not one time in those 67 days did anyone drop to their knees, and not one time did they drop out. They did every single one every day. Because it became a pride thing. They owned that. That was theirs. And on that last day, when they did those 67 push-ups, they high-fived each other when they were done, and they said, well, all right. 67, that's pretty good. If I were to tell you right now that we were going to go out and circle up outside and do 67 push-ups right now, how many of you would be like, well, are you nuts? Go ahead, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you say, I don't know if I can do it. My hand's up, you see? I got a bum shoulder. I don't know if I can do 67 right now. Right? How many of you would be like, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I don't think I can. Those girls would have said the same thing on February 1st. If I would have told them, you're going to do 67 push-ups on May 7th. But, yeah, right. No, I won't. Guess what? They did. You know why? Because they didn't know any better. They just did it. Because every day when you just add one, it's no big deal. Get it? That's character. It's about doing one extra. It's about being just a little bit better tomorrow than you were today. That's what it's about. And with character comes courage, doesn't it? It takes courage to play this game. Why? Give me a reason. What's the big word? What are you afraid of? Losing. What does that equate to? Failure. Thank you. How many of you are afraid to fail? Raise them high, raise them proud. Yeah. Failure is not fun, is it? No. You're right. But here's the question, right? Here's the $1 million question. Is failure good or bad?
Good.
Okay, so raise your hand if you want to be a failure.
It could be both.
What's the matter with you? Failure's good, but not for me. Failure's really good, but for this girl over here. You can learn from it, my friend. Fail away. Yeah, really? Okay. Failure's good, but I want to be one. We're a little mixed up on failure, aren't we? It's very confusing. Because we tell ourselves, failure's good. When is it good?
You learn from it.
When you learn from it. So what if I kind of half learned from it?
Then it's
Kind of half good, right? Do you think if you looked that up in the dictionary, it'd be like, failure? Well, it depends. See, situation. Right? Like, it's so confusing. Why do we do this to ourselves? Failure is good, it's bad, I don't know. So what is it? What is it? Is it both? How many of you think failure is both? Put your hands down. We're going, oh. Now, failure is neither good nor bad. Now we're really confused. Right? It's like, what is going on? I had a girl literally yesterday sitting in the front row here. And when I said that, failure is neither good nor bad, and she let out this big sigh. Oh, boy. I said, you all right? She goes, oh my God, just please tell me, is it good or is it bad? And I laughed. I thought, we have this human condition that we've got to have an answer, right? It's got to be good or it's got to be bad. It's got to be one or the other. Tell me, what is it, please? And here's the thing. It's neither. We, as human beings, we attach emotion to everything, don't we? Everything, right? How many of you have ever been told, don't take it personally? You know who you are. Don't take it personally, but... Right? It's like failure. Well, what does that mean? Because we attach emotion to stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, if you learn how to detach from emotion when it comes to failure, you're going to win. And I'm not talking about outcome. I'm just talking about the process of embracing failure. When I was given that award from the Chester County Chamber, and they asked me, when you accept this award, we want you to be able to say a few words about your success. Why were you successful? I had no idea. No idea. I just do what I do. And I thought, all right, I guess there's really one thing that changed when things started to really become successful for me. And that was this one idea. I began to embrace failure. And I began to take it for what it is. Because see, ladies, failure is just a thing. Failure is feedback. That's all it is. It just tells you, did you do it right or not? Learn from it and move on. Don't attach the emotion to it. As soon as I embraced that and started to do that, I realized my successes were so much more simple. So when I explained this, I said, I think success comes from embracing failure and learning how to fail. And honestly, for me, even if I fall flat on my face, I'm 5 feet, 11 inches closer to where I want to go. That's it. That's how I see it anymore. It doesn't matter. We're going to fail. We're human beings. We're going to make mistakes. Get over it. Move on. Embrace failure detached from emotion. It takes courage. It takes courage. But see, with failure comes the word composure. Composure and the choices we make in that composure. When we're composed, things look a lot better than when we're not, right? Yeah. Composure is one of those things. We call it emotional control. We call it emotional control. And here's what I want you to think about. How many of you have ever ridden a roller coaster before? How many of you like riding roller coasters on the softball field? And I'm not talking about the ones that they moved for like a fair or something. I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I am the best player to ever live. Oh my gosh, I should quit softball today. Did you see that bomb I just hit? How did I strike out swinging on that pitch? Did you see that play I just made? I am awesome. I'm done with this game forever. And that was just one inning. One inning. And you come off the field and you're like, oh, I am so exhausted. And I didn't even do anything. Yeah. That's exhausting. It's exhausting. Okay? So here's what I'm going to suggest. Stop riding the roller coaster on the field and get on the train. Ooh. Point A to point B. Real easy. Smooth. No highs, no lows. Just keep it moving. Is that easier? And all that stuff that we carry as baggage. Let it go. Because those are the choices we make. There's a lot of stuff we don't control in this game, correct? What are some of those things? Give me one thing we don't control. Shout it out. Okay, I have done this 12 times. Today's the 12th time. Today. Right now is the 12th time that I've done this exact thing in 2 days. And every single group, that is the first thing that's been said.
What is it?
Umpires. Correct. And guess what, ladies? Here's your big aha moment. You will never control them. Let it go. Okay. What else don't we control?
Other players.
Other players. What else? Coaches. What else?
Which way the ball goes.
Which way the ball goes.
What the pitcher throws.
What the pitcher throws. What else? How about the weather? No. And we talk about it all the time, don't we? Don't we? It is so hot out here. I know. I'm dying. Oh my gosh, I think it just went up a degree. Why do we waste our energy? Right? We can't control it. Don't put your energy on stuff you can't control. This is a big aha. Those of you who get this, and you start to shift your energy on the stuff you do control, what do you control? Because wait, that whole list, there's a whole lot, we could go on and on about stuff you can't control, right? That's a whole long list, and quite honestly, how many of you look at that list and be like, oh my goodness, sign me up, I want to play that. I don't control anything? Awesome. Right? It's kind of crazy. What do you control?
Yourself.
Me?
Yeah, yourself. Whoever you
Like, you're talking about me? You control me.
know. Like, yeah, well,
Thank you! We are so not quick to take ownership of that. We control yourself. Or me? No. Yourself. Like yourself. Ourselves. No. Say, repeat after me. I control me.
I control me.
Oh, beautiful. We don't want to take ownership of that, though, do we? We try to always kind of put it elsewhere. Yeah, that's it. That's the only thing you control. Is that crazy? A little bit. A little bit. So when you make goals, how many of you set goals when you go to play? Okay? When you set goals, this is a big thing right here. Make sure that you don't set goals based on stuff you don't control. Because you know what that does? That sets us up to fail. And we already established that none of us wanted to be failures, right? Okay, so here's my suggestion. Instead of setting goals like, I want to go 3 for 4 today. Because how much of that 3 for 4 do you not control? Most of it. You don't control if this is the best pitcher in the entire world, do you? You don't control if, let's say you hit the ball and it's, I don't know, the shortstop makes the play of her life. Do you control that? She robbed you of a hit? Sucks to be you. Sorry about your luck. I mean, you don't control this stuff, right? You just don't. So you have to understand that if I put my energy on all this stuff that I don't control, and I'm making these goals based on things I don't control, and then I fail, and then I'm like, oh, see, I knew I wouldn't do it. Well, what does that mean? You set yourself up to fail. So instead, how about this goal? How about saying, I want to have 4 good at-bats today? Can you control that? Absolutely. Yes, of course you do. Here's an example of a good at-bat. I fouled off 4 pitches, I worked the count full, and then I struck out. Is that a good at-bat? Absolutely. Now, if you're only outcome-driven, if I'm only looking at the end result, is that a good at-bat? No, you failed. Do you understand? But yet, we all agree that that's a good at-bat, right? So here's the idea. The idea is focus on the process, and guess what, ladies? The outcome will usually take care of itself. Make sense? So, when we go through composure and making those choices and being able to do that, we move into commitment and consistency. What does it mean to make a commitment to something?
It's like a promise almost.
A promise. Good.
You're putting your whole heart into it.
I put my whole heart into it. Here's the best definition I ever heard. It's doing something, okay? But why do we follow through? Because what? We said we would. We said we would. See, after character and integrity, those things go together. The only thing you have at the end of the day is your word. Your word, and it means something. So when you say you're going to do something, you follow through. That's commitment. That's saying I'm going to do it. I said I was going to do it, and I'm going to follow through on doing it. I'm not going to let my teammates down. I'm not going to let myself down, first of all, because that matters. So making a commitment and being consistent with that commitment is doing it the same way over and over. What about committed consistency? How many of you have ever heard, today I want you to give 110%? How many of you have ever heard that? Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. I told you I'm not good at math. But where the heck on a pie chart is 110%? What is it, hanging off the side? I cannot wrap my head around it. I don't get it. Where is it? It doesn't exist, right? You cannot give more than the whole. Make sense? Okay? So here's what I think we're saying, because I've said it too. But here's what I think we're saying. I think what we really want to say is you have to give 100% 100% of the time. Does that make sense? Okay? So in other words, today your 100% might be here. And tomorrow your 100% is here. And the next day you're feeling really good, it's here. How many of you have ever played tired or sick or with a headache, right? We've all been there. We know what that feels like. So I want you to understand that it's okay if your 100% changes. You get that? That part's okay because it's going to change day to day. What absolutely cannot change is that you give all of it. Got it? Then we talk a little bit about communication. That's a big one. Communication, all right? This is our second to last word. Communication is critical on the field, is it not? Would you agree? Okay. And communication goes far beyond the field because today I think we are the most connected society technologically, but I think possibly we borderline on the most disconnected at the same time. I'm playing college someday. I can tell you right now that understanding communication and understanding that you need to be able to put technology away and have a conversation eye to eye, face to face with teammates, coaches, and everybody else for the rest of your life, that's a skill that we can never replace with technology. You've got to be able to do that. Practice it. And I'm not just preaching at you, I'm talking to me too. Because here's something that I did to make sure that I don't lose that connection with people. I made a rule for myself that anytime I eat a meal with anybody else, if I'm sitting at a table with somebody else, my phone doesn't come out of my pocket until we're finished. My house could be burning down, I guess. I have no idea. But I wouldn't know, right? Because my phone's in my pocket, so it wouldn't matter. Okay? So I really want you to get that. I want you to understand that there are some things that are critically important that we cannot negotiate on. These are what I call non-negotiables, and that's one of them. Leaf windows, right? We come from different backgrounds, we come from different places, we say things differently, we understand things differently. We all learn differently, don't we? Some of us learn more auditory, where we hear. Some of us are visual learners, right? Some of us are what we call kinesthetic learners, where we need to feel things to be able to learn it. So understand that when you communicate with your teammates, you also have to know that they're going to receive and process information differently than you. Got it? Okay? So when you talk to them, it has to be, you might have to change it. You know, how many of you have ever said, I explained this like 5 times, why doesn't she get it? And if you're the one trying to give the information, realize that maybe I need to do it differently. Maybe I need to say it differently in order to get through the way that she needs to understand it. Okay? So I need 2 quick volunteers. Yeah. The idea is we use our words. First of all, we make things way more complicated than we need to most of the time, don't we? Okay? Draw this way, notes, go the other way, and then loop around. One of the groups earlier drew a peanut. So, I don't know, yours wasn't that far off. Okay? Who knows, right? But see, we hear things, and then we think that that's what we're doing, because that's what we heard, correct? Okay? And then the other person said, well, that's not what I said. I know exactly what I said, because this is what I'm picturing in my head. I call that, come touch my side of the elephant. Yes, I said elephant. Imagine a big elephant in this room. And I'm going to stand on the head side, thank you very much. And I'm going to explain an elephant. If you've never seen an elephant before in your life, and I have to explain an elephant to you, and I'm looking at the head, and I'm trying to talk about this trunk and all this crazy stuff going on, and one of you is at the other side, sorry about your luck, and you're going to explain an elephant from this end. I'm going to say that we're probably going to talk about 2 totally different things. Would you agree? Yeah. Okay, so here's the thought. If I had a rose in my hand and I said, here you go, here's this beautiful rose, but you know what? It hurts really bad. Enjoy it. Huh? Here's this thing, and it's really, ow, don't cut yourself. Is that how we give a rose? Probably not, right? It's like, look at this beautiful rose. Oh, isn't it lovely? Ow. You didn't tell me about that. It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. And sometimes we need to do that with each other a little bit more, right? We need to say, hey, come on over here. Oh, now I see. All right. Okay, I get it. But come look at it this way. You don't ever have to agree. You just have to accept. And be willing to learn something new. And be willing to say, hey, let me see it from your view. Let me look through your window for a minute and see it's a totally different view. And it doesn't mean that mine's right and yours is wrong. It just means it's different. Whew. Our last C. Can't believe it. It's the word confidence. Confidence. I studied confidence for about a year with a sports psychologist in Florida. We actually wrote a workbook together. And one of the things that we found from confidence, from everybody we talked to, is the #1 killer of confidence is the word expectation. It's the word expectation, because here's what happens. We have expectations, and then we don't meet them. And then what?
Our confidence goes down.
Our confidence goes down because we are a
Failure.
failure. And how many of us want to be failures? Yeah, that's right. Nobody. Okay? So here's what happens. We set these, what we call expectations, and we say we have to do it this way, and if we don't, we either succeed or we fail. It's black or white, right? There's no gray area in between. With that is, as human beings, we are going to fail. So we just set ourselves up for failure and disappointment once again. So I say get rid of the word expectation Use the word intention, manageable objective, goal, I don't care what you use. But the word expectation makes you realize that if I brought home a 99 on a test, that would be a failure. Because you didn't get it all right. So I want you to understand where that lives. And see, the thing about confidence, my story, when I was in 8th grade, I did not have confidence. I lacked confidence big time. Because, you ready for this? Because I was tall. Huh? Is that crazy? I look back now and I think it's hilarious. I struggled with it. And you know, in 8th grade, we did those things called, you know, the most this and best this, right, in the yearbook. Well, I was chosen as most athletic for the girls. And the boy they chose happened to be the shortest kid in the whole school.
Wow.
Yay me.
Make you look even taller than.
Yeah. So, for the picture, they decided to put in the yearbook, they put little Josh Lipton on a chair. So here I am, like this, trying to lean to get shorter, and he's on this chair, leaning on me, and we're now the same height. But here's the best part. They kept the chair in the picture, in the yearbook. I looked at the picture, I said, wow, I'm a giant. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. But then I started to realize I can't control that. I don't control my height. So was I putting energy on something I couldn't control? Yeah. And it affected me greatly. It affected me greatly. So here's the thing. I used to walk around with my head down and I wouldn't look at people in the eyes because I just wanted to be small. I just wanted to shrink. I didn't want to stand out. Now I love being tall because every single time without fail, I'm in the grocery store, there's some little old lady who says, "Dear, can you reach that?" I say, yes. Yes, I can. I got it all. What do you need? Okay? Because, see, I bought that as my story. I bought it. And I had another story that I realized that I was telling myself. I wanted to write a book since I was 7 years old. And I told myself, I can't write a book. Who's going to read my book? Who am I to write a book? Who cares? So for so many years, I put it off, and I put it off. And last October, I said, it's time to put this book together. So I took my collection of blogs, and I wrote the introduction, wrote all the stuff in between. I put it all together. On October 21st, I started the process. And on December 17th, I held the book in my hands. 2 months later, and it was on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Whatever you say you want to do, you can do it. You can do it. Because, and then I look at it, I'm like, what? That was it? I could have just done that this whole time? And I just kept telling myself, I can't. It's like I can't do 67 push-ups, but I don't know. I can't write a book, well, why not? Why not? Why can't you do those things? You've written your own story. And you know what? It's so easy to just change your story. For so long, I said, I'm not an artist. I absolutely cannot draw. How did you relate? My stick figures didn't even look sticky enough. I couldn't draw. I was like, wow. When I started doing this, the same time, I drove down to the store and I bought a sketchbook and a box of colored pencils. And I drove back to my house some random Wednesday afternoon. And I literally sat outside on my front porch and I drew the tree that I looked at every single day. And I'm not going to tell you it's any Rembrandt or Picasso, but you know what? It came out all right. And I said, I'm an artist today. We tell ourselves we can't all the time. And we buy it. We buy it. And that becomes our truth. Change the story. Change the truth. Change the message. Change the can't. And all of a sudden you start to take that limit off. People worry about, yeah, but if you don't have expectations, you're lowering the bar. You know what I'm saying? Get rid of the bar. Why do you have a bar anyway? Because you know what? The bar is your lid. I read this amazing book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Law number 1, law of the lid. It states you will never grow higher than your lid. And your lid can be a coach, a teammate, a parent. It can be most usually yourself. And you put a lid on it and you'll never go past it because you'll get there and you'll say, oh, I made it. All right, I can coast now. That's great. But that means I would have never written that book. So get rid of that. You don't know how far you can go until you go. 67 push-ups, no big deal. When you start to change the language and you start to say, I can, you will. That's the difference. So I want to say thank you. This is always, for me, an honor. I know you're meeting back in the other room